Hi there, and welcome once again to my continuing coverage of New Japan Pro Wrestling's G1 Climax 31 from the 2021 era of human existence. I'm MrWarrenHayes. We're going to be talking, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. The last two nights of professional wrestling in this tournament of kings, one of the top events in the world of pro wrestling, bar none. I think there, as far as, prestige goes and everything being set up and how, things are perceived here, and the work that has to go through this for all the guys who are involved in this tournament. It's hard to pick out another tournament that has this level of, I will use the word again, for lack of a better synonym, prestige. I think that's exactly what it is. Problem is that, we're getting into night 7 and 8, and these were very, very, very dry nights. Tough to get through. Now, this is not my first G1 rodeo. A G1 rodeo would probably be different from what we're experiencing. Maybe that just to make, I was just using the well-worn idiom of, this is not my first rodeo, and then adding the G1 in it to specify that specifically this is not my first watching of a G1. So what am I trying to get at? Is that I realize in any G1 that at some point, the guys work a little slower. They work hard out the gate to get people excited, and then they sort of manage their bodies, right, for the closing stretches, because they've still got like 6 matches to go. Like, this is it is a literal gauntlet. Well, not a literal, because a literal gauntlet you'd put on your hand. But it is a true to form gauntlet that they're doing over the span of like 5 weeks or so, 12 matches. Like, it's absurd, and it's a lot of work. So I get it that at some point they're like, okay, we're just going to cool down a little bit. The problem I think that we're facing right now is, since New Japan, Japan in and about itself, since it's still very much on lockdown, and we still have, unresponsive crowds or low energy crowds that they can't react. All they can do is clap and stomp their feet. It creates a very dry environment, which is one of the main reasons that made New Japan really difficult to watch over the past couple of months. It's been tough for that. So now we're circling into a moment in the G1 where, okay, the work isn't going to be quite as tip top as the first couple of nights, and we know that as we get towards the end, it's going to pick up as well. But at least we had like the electricity of the live crowd to sort of keep us in it, sort of like give us that jolt, that energy. Is like, okay, there's life to this, there's energy. Now we're getting matches, and I talked about it on the last recap I did. On night 8, you get stuff like Evil and Chase Owens and Yoshihashi and Taichi, and you're like, this is the kind of circumstance where you need some crowd noise to sort of liven up the thing, because there's a lot of stuff that was pretty much that was pretty much dry as drywall, dead as drywall is what I wanted to say. Dull as drywall. There you go. That's what I wanted to say. And that's not to say, but I'm not excusing anything, because in the meantime, there's always, like, even though we're in these tournament lulls, which happen, again, I need to underscore this, there's always, a top tier performance. There's always one match that comes out of these nights where you're like, wow, this is the one you got to see. This one, amazing, blew my mind. And we're not there. We haven't got those. And I would even go as far as to say that as far as match quality, where the G1 is usually a match of the year machine, pumping out match of the years like, sausage links, we haven't been privy to that this year. I think it's been a lot more. We've had very solid work. We've had really great evenings of professional wrestling. Some fantastic matches, things that were like, yeah, this was really good. But we haven't got that awesome classic. We haven't got that big one yet. We still have a ways to go. We're 2/3. We're starting the second third of the G1 with night 7. So, I'm going to keep my eyes peeled. I'm still excited to see how this is going to develop because I think there's some very, very interesting elements in play here, but you got to give me the matches to put, to work this out. Like I can't just be looking at, my spreadsheet and numbers and being like, okay, you got to make me feel something a little bit. Otherwise that's it. I'm just staring at spreadsheets, looking at numbers, and that's pretty sterile. I'm not an accountant and I hate numbers. I suck at math. This is no mystery here. I talk about it, I wouldn't say proudly, but without fear. I'm not afraid to speak out my truth. I am terrible at mathematics. I always have been. That's why I majored in English. and look at where that brings you, kids. How you doing? And how you doing, Brian Payne out here in the chat? Thank you, everyone, for joining us live here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. If you're listening to this on demand, I appreciate it as well. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, cheers to you. All good stuff. Well, let's get to it. Let's just dive right in. DGMC, nice to see you. Rails, like Ruby on Rails kind of thing. Programming. I can't do that. Just said I'm terrible at math. You kind of need your math. You kind of need the math. There we go. Start with night 7, September 30th. It was yesterday. On the day that I'm recording this was, the day before yesterday. Block A action starting off with Tomohiro Ishii defeating Tongaloa. Interesting stat that this was Tongaloa's first singles match in Cork and Hall, of his career. I thought that's pretty exciting and good for him. Shame that it didn't turn out the way he wanted it. They just start fucking laying into each other, right? In a set of strong style strikes. Neither of them give up any leeway. Neither of them fail. Eventually, their whole thing tumbles out to the floor. Loa plants Ishii with a spine first against the turnbuckle post, trying to use a little sneaky style to try and get an upper hand here, because Ishii wasn't giving up an inch. Ishii fights back with a suplex back into the ring after Loa is in control for a while. Loa hits an exploder suplex. Tongaloa then hits a Blue Thunder bomb and locks in Operation Jado Killer. There's a superplex by Ishii. He goes for the sliding D. It's countered by a great drop kick by Loa. There's a spear and a sit-out powerbomb by Loa. Ishii he's just kicking out of everything, though. Like, Tongaloa he's just bringing everything but the kitchen sink. And Ishii's kicking. He'd probably kick out of the kitchen sink as well. You just drop the kitchen sink on him and he'd be like, nope, not tonight. Ishii reverses out of ape shit. Loa's finishing move right into the brainbuster for the win. Well fought match. Strong, good intensity. I like it. First official 2 points for our boy Tommy Ishii. Of Of course, he already had 2 points because of the Naito bump, but this is his first win, first earned 2 points. Good for him. Zack Sabre Jr. defeated the Great Okan. Now, I had said on the last program that this was probably the match that held my interest the most, because this would probably establish give us a little more clarity as to where they're going storyline wise, particularly with Zack Sabre Jr., right? Because here's the thing, and I'm going to talk some standings here, and if you want to look at the standings, they're right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. I have them just hanging out here. Zack Sabre Jr. right now has tied with this victory Great Okan for 8 points. The one thing that we have to keep in mind here is that Zack Sabre Jr. is the only wrestler, and I keep repeating this, but he is the only wrestler who has earned all 8 of his points. He's the only one who has 4 victories. Great Okan has 8. Great Okan is benefiting from the Naito bump at this point. And Zack Sabre Jr. is going to be the only guy who is going to have fought for all his points, have won every one of his matches. So he technically has got 4 wins under his belt here, despite the fact that he's at 8 points. And one can argue that Sabre's most difficult matches are behind him. The ones that had the most realistic chances of the ones where he had the most realistic chances of losing are all behind him at this point. He defeated Naito, he defeated Shingo, he defeated Kota Ibushi, and I was sort of, uneven on Great Okan, because Great Okan, he's still a mid-card guy. He's not a top guy like Ibushi. He's not a top guy like Shingo. But they're pushing him hard too. He's plowing through the opposition. I was like, look, this will be interesting to see what's going to happen here. And Great Okan won. Again, if you look at not Great Okan, Zack Sabre Jr. won. And if you look at what's left for Sabre in Block A, Tongaloa should be fine against him. Ishii, that's maybe one that could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised if New Japan decided to go and give Ishii a bit of a midway kind of push, have him climb up on some points there, but it's entirely conceivable that Junior should be able to plow through him. Yujiro shouldn't be an issue for Zack Sabre Jr. Kenta might put up a fight. Kenta had a good one a couple of nights ago. Wasn't quite as successful on night 7, but he had a good showing on night 5, defeating Evil. I don't know. Not Evil. Excuse me. Not. I can't. I'm drawing a blank. Who did he defeat? Just drawing a quick blank here. Let me pull this up. Night 5, Kenta. Ishii. He defeated Ishii. So I don't know. I still kind of feel like Zack Sabre Jr. might be. I mean, I don't think they're going to give him a perfect record here. I think he might conceivably lose to Kenta. But look, let's talk about this match here. For some reason, Great Okan decided that it was a good idea to play Sabre's game here. And he was like, yeah, let's grapple. Let's slap on some holds on each other, right? Cool beans. I could understand the idea, the reasoning why a wrestler like the Great Okan might want to do it. He just wants to prove himself. He's a big guy. He's very cocky, very confident. He's like, yeah, I can take you on. I can wrestle anyone here. And to see him pull out like his mat skills, well, pretty fun. You know, he's no genius. You know, he's no Bryan Danielson or, you know, Daniel Garcia. It's fine. Seeing a little variety in Great-O-Khan's offense, and I think we're better off knowing this. But of course, he gets overwhelmed, right? He's completely overcome by Zach's game here, and you know, there's some moments here where Great-O-Khan, you know, he picks a leg on Zach, because Zach's cocky. Zach is super cocky. Great-O-Khan said he's cocky, but Zack Sabre Jr. is the epitome of cockiness. So of course, like, he's like, yeah, I'll do whatever I want. So maybe, you know, he lets his guard down a little bit. Great-O-Khan sees an opening, picks the leg, had Zach scrambling. That was pretty fun. They trade some strikes. Zach was even challenging him to hit Mongolian chops on him. Zack Sabre Jr. comes back with some kicks and an armbar at 10. Great-O-Khan did get some submission offense in, and pretty good abdominal stretch, and he was covering Zack Sabre Jr.'s mouth, which I thought was a nice little touch, as commentary put over. You know, he reduces the respiratory system, right? Can't breathe as well. That's important when you're a wrestler. And then there's this great visual of him torture racking Zach, but he's got him like on his lower back, right? And it's so cool. Like the way he has him. He just has him like on his lower back, hanging onto the neck and legs, and he's just, I liked it. I thought it was a good visual, a good strong looking submission for a big strong guy like Great-O-Khan. Now the finish comes when Great-O-Khan goes for, he gets him in the claw, he gets Zack Sabre Jr. in the claw, goes for the eliminator. Sabre goes for an upside down armbar. Great-O-Khan blocks it. And he looks like he's going to do the power bomb thing, you know, that thing that I like so much, that I've never seen before. You know, where the guy lifts the other guy and then power bombs him onto the mat. But Sabre crawls onto his back, hyperextends the arm, and Great-O-Khan instantly taps. And I'm like, what a fucking great finish. Again, another arm submission where he just locks it in, cranks it in, and it immediately leads to a tap. It's like, oh, you got me. This hurts like hell. Tap, tap, tap. Fantastic stuff. It looks like, right now, Sabre looks like a precision assassin. He looks like a sniper. He just knows exactly where to aim, pulls on it, and you're dead. It's fantastic. On the New Japan website where they they post the results, of course, they always post the result with the move that was used to finish the match. Zach called this finish, he called it, "How about them legs?" So that was the name of the finisher he used to take out Great-O-Khan and get another 2 points. Zack Sabre Jr., 4 victories, 8 points. First loss for Great-O-Khan, who was at 8 points, but who was 2-1. Kota Ibushi defeated Toru Yano. Again, you know, always with the same preface. I like Yano stuff, but, you know, I think, you know, and it's not for everyone, but I think even for Yano entertainment levels, I thought this one was a little bland. Didn't think it was great. Yano has the bag again, you know, the bag where he carried all his stuff in, and he's showing it to the ref, showing it to Ibushi. Oh, he puts it over Kota Ibushi's head. Then he starts beating on him, wails on him, rolls him to the outside, rolls Ibushi in the ring apron like a burrito or a breakfast wrap, whatever you want to call it. Probably more like a breakfast wrap or a Swiss roll. Y'all remember Swiss rolls? Man, my family was crazy about Swiss rolls, and I never quite got it. I always thought the cake was a little dry. Never thought there was enough cream filling. You know, I know it's a spiral and you're supposed to take a bite and go, ooh, fancy, but I don't know. Wasn't big on Swiss rolls. Anyways, Kota struggles out of all this nonsense on the floor. He makes it by the count of 18. Then there's tape, and Ibushi fights it off. And look, he hits a Kamigoye to the back of Yano's head. He goes for a Kamigoye attempt after that. Yano reverses it into a pin attempt, which Ibushi kicks out of. And then immediately goes into a bomb Ie, and then a successful Kamigoye for the win. That's all there needs to be said here. Kota Ibushi with another 2 points. Shingo Takagi defeated KENTA. No fucking around here. KENTA goes straight for the guy. There is a lot of history between the former Hideo Itami and Shingo Takagi. And commentary made a good point of it. Like, it goes all the way back to Dragon Gate. So these guys have a very, very vicious mean streak with each other, and I like that they lean into it, even though it happened in other promotions. That it has, you know, I like that it's still part of their history, and they just go right in. They start trading kicks and shoulder blocks. It feels really, really visceral early on. A good aggressive tone where Kenta didn't screw around, starting, you know, to do a stalling. You know, he was like, no, I'm here to kick your ass, Shingo. And I'm going to kick it as hard as I can. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. You can see it in his expression. And you can see Shingo was like, oh yeah, okay, let's do this. So both guys got really, really violent early on, and I liked it. Just, they got really nasty with each other on the floor. Kenta messes up Shingo's arm in the barricade and works it for the rest of the match. And this is the same arm that Zack Sabre Jr. worked at during his match with Shingo night 3 at this point. Or night 2? No, 3. 3, right? Night 3. And he's grinding at it. Like, Kenta is looking to hurt Shingo here. And Shingo is really selling the arm. Like, it's really reminiscent. Good storytelling here. Because if you go back to night 3 and you rewatch it, and you'll see that Sabre's tactic was to take out his right arm because that's where a lot of his striking power comes. And he effectively neutralized some of Shingo's striking ability. Where Shingo would lean in, try to get some lariats going, try to get some big strikes going. But no, like, his arm was too weak. And that played on Sabre's advantage, because Sabre's not a guy who's going to go toe-to-toe with you for 120 seconds strong styling. You know, he's going to collapse way before. Kenta's relentlessness is the big story here. Assisted DDT using the apron on the floor, which was nasty shit. And he does, a few of the hits, the corner kick, the hesitation corner drop kick, the double stomp. Shingo fights back until Kenta just, lays in with some palm strikes. And there's this really cool move at some point. Kenta's just striking, kicking. Shingo grabs a kick and converts it into a Made in Japan, which was great. There's a huge superplex as well. There's a ref bump, a low blow, and Kenta goes back to the arm. Again, you kind of wonder, well, I mean, I think I get this ref bump more than others that we've seen during the tournament, because this one here, I think, just establishes that Kenta's still ready to do whatever is needed to win. He saw an opportunity, he did the low blow, but he didn't roll out and grab a chair and start destroying Shingo. It's like he took an opportunity here, went back to work the arm. But this was a bad example, because he did go and get chairs, right? I'm sorry, that was a bad example. It just dawned on me. He did go out to get chairs to destroy Shingo's arm even more. He did sort of a concerto type move on the arm with a pair of chairs, locks in the game over. Shingo breaks out of it, reverses out of a GTS into a dragon suplex, hits the pumping bomber. Kenta eats the exposed turnbuckle that was exposed a little earlier on the match and goes right into a last of the dragon for Shingo to win, get the pin, get 2 points. Now here's the really interesting part moving forward here. Fun main event, by the way. Very, very strong, fun match. Great story that was told here. Good aggression. Nice and tough between both guys here. I liked it. Definitely match of the night. Probably match of the entire 2-block set that I'm going to be talking about here. Because Shingo can't have a bad match. I don't know if you knew this. Wrestler of the Year, Shingo Takagi. What I like here, though, is that this is what they're establishing, right? Is Shingo came into this match. His arm was already in bad shape. Kenta fucked it up now. Kenta just he destroyed it. Turned it to noodles. It's like, Shingo, you're gonna have to pick up your arm with a pair of chopsticks. Put it in a bowl. Pour some broth over it, brother. That's what your arms are good for now. So this will likely come into play in future matches. Shingo was able to sneak a win out here, but he's still got more to come. He still has quite a few matches. Well, they all still have quite a few matches ahead of them. But you know, like he has Great Okan coming up, right? He has a jerk like, and he has Kota. Does he have Kota coming on? I'm losing track. Apologies again. But the point is that this might have an effect on his tournament moving forward. It really might. I think this is the story that they set up here. Yeah, he's got Great Okan left in Ibushi. And Ibushi is going to be at a point where his back is going to be against the wall and he's going to want some points. And he'll take the shortcuts. He'll go for the arm. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Tongaloa got his first win because of it. Honestly, I think Shingo's tournament is in peril at this point. But he still managed to get the win. And our standings right now, as we speak, we have, there we go. We have Great Okan and Zack Sabre Jr. tied for 8. Again, need to underscore the fact that Great Okan is, he's 2-1, right? 3-1, excuse me. Yeah, that's right. He won 3 matches, just lost 1. Zack Sabre Jr., 4-0. Okan could have walked out of here with 10 points last night. Zack Sabre Jr. winning all of his matches. Kenta, Toru Yano, and Shingo and Kota all tied for second place with 6 points. Yujiro Takahashi, the Tokyo Pimp, is at 4 points, I should say. And Tomohiro Ishii he's tied with Tomohiro Ishii, both at 4. Tongaloa rounding out the bottom at 2. He hasn't won a match. He's just benefiting from the Naito bump. That's where we're at right now for good old night 7. Want to say hello to Pluggo. Just left a super chat. Thank you very much, Pluggo. He says, your legacy here. Keep up the killer work, my friend. Thank you very much. My legacy is Pluggo. It's my gift to you and to the world of wrestling. Thank you for being here, buddy. G1 Climax Night 8th now. We're off to Block B, October 1st, 2021. This is not the Block B that got me really excited on nights 1 and 2, 2 and 4, I should say, where you got surprises as far as results went that sort of mixed things up. You got surprises in the work rate of some of the guys in the tournament where you're like, wow, this is really good. This definitely felt like a mid-road, we're taking it easy because we still have so long to go kind of soiree, with some matches that definitely would have needed a little bit of spice. Let's start talking about all of this. Jeff Cobb defeated Tama Tonga to continue his reign of terror in Block B. This was not one of these matches that I felt needed some spice. This being a preliminary match lasted just about as long as I expected it would, and I think the guys worked the time perfectly. They worked a good pace here. Cobb being the strong guy, right? He's catching Tama Tonga, doing stinger splashes, and he Cobb overhead, belly to bellies him. It's fantastic stuff. Does a stalling suplex on Tama, and at some point he just has one arm and he's being cocky. Fantastic shit. Like the kind of stuff that you expect out of Jeff Cobb, because Jeff Cobb is a big, huge son of a bitch, right? But then all this reverses when Tama, who is a strong guy as well, but not as strong as Jeff Cobb, starts to use the one advantage that he does have, and that's his speed, his explosiveness. He finally hits a stinger splash. Like I said, it took 2 times. 2 times where Cobb reversed out of that. Hits a DVD on Cobb as well. Cobb hits the standing moonsault. And then he starts jaw-jacking, talking shit to Tama Tonga. Talking shit about his family, and that lights Tama up. That was pretty fun. Tama reverses out of the Tour of the Islands with a Tongan twist, followed by a big angel dive. The gun stun is blocked. He goes for another one, but Cobb sort of, I don't know, he sort of smoothly moves out of the way and just sort of grabs Tama and drops him on his head with a German suplex. Tour of the Islands, and we're done. The Jeff Cobb train continues here, and it's going to continue. I keep telling you guys, believe me, he's the final boss for Kazuchika Okada in this tournament. This is what they're building, and they're giving him these big wins. I think it's the second match in a row where Jeff Cobb is like, he's taking a beating, he's a little on edge. He hits one move to stun the other guy, and it stuns him long enough to do like a short arm Tour of the Islands, like just yanks him up and spins him around for the win. Kind of establishing that the Tour of the Islands it's not necessarily this big production where he has to run the guy in the ropes and then spins him. It can be done like in a flash. So he's a big guy. He'll stomp the meat out of you. Plus he can also beat you without you even realizing that you've been beat. This is what they're doing with Jeff Cobb. Setting him up for Okada at the end of this block. Now, this is one of the matches here that needed the spice that I was telling you about. And I was hoping for some where Evil defeated Evil defeated Chase Owens. Okay. This is a match where on paper I was looking at it and I was like, good grief. I cannot not wait to see this match. There was I had no interest in this, and I wasn't expecting anything grandiose. But nights 2 and nights 4, night 2 and night 4. Why am I putting plurals here? Night 2 and night 4, Chase Owens comes in guns blazing, working harder than you have ever seen Chase Owens work in the past. And he's hauling ass. And he's dynamic. He's into it. A guy, this is how I talked about it, right? A guy who's been put into this G1 to eat pins. I mean, he's not winning the block by any stretch of the imagination. He's the guy, he's going to eat the pins here. That's what he's for. But he also knows that he's got an opportunity here to shine, to look good, to have singles matches with other guys that will look competitive. And that's what he got. That's what we got in the first two nights. Here, well, we had to adapt to Evil's slow-paced, shenanigans-infused match structure, which really was a hamper to any kind of flow or anything that Chase Owens was trying to electrify up and bring down. Now, some people could say here, well, isn't that good heat, Warren? Isn't that what a good heel should do? To a degree, because the heel also sort of has to produce some moments, and Evil, he that's just not what he does. You know, people like to say Evil is such a great heel. You know, but if you do the most direct comparison you could do in New Japan and stand Evil and Jay White side by side, despite Jay White having his own set of shenanigans and, you know, Gato in his corner and doing all those stuff, Jay White brings out good wrestling matches overall. Like, he still actually wrestles and does things as opposed to setting up moments for Evil. Anyway, the match starts. We have, you know, the big questions, like, these are all Bullet Club guys. Except for Evil, the House of Torture, all that stuff. If you want me to talk about the House of Torture a little more, go check my my first recap of nights 1 and 2. I sort of walk through the what New Japan wants to do with the House of Torture, or as it's been reported. So everyone's wondering how the Bullet Club guys and the House of Torture guys are all gonna interact, since they're all Bullet Club. So Dick Togo and Evil invite Chase Owens to do the Too Sweet, and they all do it together, and like, oh, this is cool. Evil gets to the middle of the ring, and he asks Chase to lay down for him. Give me the 2 points, man, is what he says. Chase Owens slaps him across the face, and they go. We do the timekeeper table spot, of course. We're taking off pads. We're setting up chairs. Dick Togo's throwing fists. Eventually, Chase Owens fights back, hits a springboard flying elbow. You know, if that's one of the spots that I wrote here as something like, you know, underscore this, Warren, I'm like, oh, this has been a pretty average match. They go to the floor, and Evil this is one of the things he does. He beats a guy up on the floor, waits for the count to start, then he wraps him into a sharpshooter, which he calls the Darkness Scorpion. And no, I'm not referring to that as such. It's going to be a sharpshooter. I'm from Canada. You're going to have to deal with it. I can tolerate the Scorpion Deathlock. That's fine. But the Darkness Scorpion, hit the bricks, pal. So he does the sharpshooter and keeps it on a little bit to sort of leave the guy on the floor in agonizing pain so that he can get back into the ring and win by countout. It hasn't worked yet, but that's the strategy behind it. So he hits the ring, and eventually Chase Owens gets back up on his feet, like I think at 17. And he hobbles to the ring and dives under the bottom rope. Evil is distracting the ref, which allows Dick Togo to grab Chase Owens by the leg and throw him back out of the ring to continue the count. And they got me there. They literally got me, because I was like, oh, they're actually going to do it. But they didn't. And honestly, I think it would have been a better finish. It would have been a lot more interesting. And it would have put over the fact that this sharpshooter on the floor thing to force a count out actually works. It's actually a good strategy, because Evil keeps doing it even though it doesn't work. And I'm like, you moron. Like, I understand you do. I can understand he does the timekeeper table spot, because that hurts a guy. And it hurts the timekeeper. He's got something, whatever. But Here though, in this, the sharpshooter thing, just I think it would have been a very good moment to establish that it's a cheap tactic and that it works, and it would have been, at least it would have been creative. Dick Togo has the garrote at some point, but Chase fights out of it, and Chase has he has a hope spot with some kicks, a jewel heist, hits a slingshot spear, but Togo distracts again. We get a low blow. Everything is evil. Evil wins. 2 points. Yada yada. Bleh. Want to say hello to Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the MrWarrenHayes show. Yeah. Hello, Kristen. And welcome. And look at this. It's Conrad from Everything Pro Wrestling. Good to see you, Conrad. That's right. ZSJ. What a beast. An assassin. Precision sniper. In a match that I consider an upset, Yoshihashi defeated Taichi here. And it's a match that I consider an upset, but that I also consider boring as hell. This is another one where I felt we could have used a little more of that spice that I was talking about at the start of the show for these matches here. A little more something. Because we saw the work from Yoshihashi and Taichi over the past the previous 3 nights at this point. We saw that they can do better than this. This was not good. This it was fine. And like, again, has nothing to do with the wrestling itself. But these are matches that without active, energetic, loud crowds, these matches lose considerably more interest. Yoshihashi works in New Japan because he has that underdog babyface energy, but you need the rallying of the audience behind him to make it work. Taichi is like, he's got this imperceptible thing right now where he's over. People like him. But again, it's not always because of the work. It's because of the characters and about themselves to begin with. Taichi's, but again, it's not that they're terrible workers, not that they can't work. They can. And we saw it 2 nights ago, or over the past two nights, 3 nights. It's just really lacking the crowd involvement when you get to these specific matches here. When you're not having, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kazuchika Okada who can do anything. The crowd could be mute, like completely mute, tied to their chairs, unable to do any kind of response sound, and they'd still have a fantastic match, and people would say, let's give us more, please. Yoshihashi, Taichi, Evil, Chase Owens, you need a crowd. You need a crowd to make this work. Taichi drills Yoshihashi with a forearm across the head to start the match. He does the TV cable spot. They fight on the floor for quite a bit, actually. Then get back into the ring, and then Yoshihashi takes it back out to sort of get a measure of revenge on Taichi. The story that they're telling here is that Taichi doesn't respect our boy Yoshihashi, right? Don't sound blame him. You know what I mean. But that's the story that they're telling here, and Yoshihashi is fighting back, because Taichi's just tossing him around. He says, "You're not worth my effort. You're not worth me putting in any kind of legitimate effort to get things done here." As opposed to when he wrestled, let's say, like when he wrestled Sonata, who he feels is a little more on his level. Well, then, he adjusts, he fixes how he's wrestling and doesn't take Sonata lightly, right? Here it was just like, no, yeah. whatever, I'll just toss you around your Yoshihashi. Or, in commentary was talking about the fact that, being the tag champions, he and Zack Sabre Jr. acknowledge the challenge from Los Ingobernables, but completely ignored the Chaos one, right? As if they weren't worthy. It's like, whatever. Yoshihashi gets some offense in. Neck breaker. Taichi gets a hook kick in. Yoshihashi starts stepping to Taichi like he's some tough guy, right? And they start trading some forearms and some kicks, which is pretty cool. Trade some lariats. Yoshihashi goes down, but charges back up and hits a dragon suplex and a Kumagoroshi as well, which was fantastic. A nice little comeback spot there. He's able to get out of Black Mephisto with a butterfly lock. Then he transitions into a sleeper hold. And I'm wondering, is this new? Is this a new thing? Or maybe I just haven't been paying attention. But I haven't seen Yoshihashi do this because he did it in his last match. He has the butterfly lock cinched in. Whoever's in the butterfly lock isn't tapping out because they're not, young lions. They're not noobs. No one taps out of the butterfly lock. So eventually he sort of transitions out and locks in a sleeper. And I was wondering, is this a new thing that he does? Because he did it in his last match as well. Taichi fights out with a dangerous suplex. And Yoshihashi then, for the win, reverses out of the Black Mephisto with a destroyer, which Pop Me not going to last, and lands Karma for the win. So, if anything, this match is like a little surprise, little explosiveness towards the end, but there wasn't enough stuff here to keep me interested in two guys who I already don't, lean in too hard, where I feel they're kind of there and they fill their roles up nicely and not guys I get excited about. Nothing really here to hold my attention. As opposed to Kazuchika Okada defeating Hiroki Goto, that held my attention. Because these are two fine professional wrestlers. One is a legend. The other one is a world-class wrestler. And this is what I wrote. My first note is that this should be good. That's the first thing I wrote. And it was fine. It was fine. The story they told here was Okada, despite the fact that he's in the same faction as Hiroki Goto, Okada is in the same mood as when he fought Yoshihashi, fighting anyone at this point. He's here to win. He doesn't give a shit. And he's going to keep plowing through everyone, and he doesn't care who you are. He doesn't care if you go have breakfast together on Sunday mornings, if you ride together to the shows. He's going to kick your ass. And there's a fair amount, and that's fine. Because if he didn't give a shit about Yoshihashi, he should not give a shit about Goto as well. He's the Rainmaker. He's back. He's there to win. There's a fair amount of back and forth. Okada eventually hits a flapjack and it spills out to the floor, where Okada gets really vicious with Goto on the floor. He hits a DDT on the floor as well. He did 2 to Yoshihashi, but 1 to Goto. He keeps beating him up, and we're seeing Okada like cocky and arrogant. He does a foot on the chest pinfall, which referee doesn't count, but he's still like, yeah, I'm doing this. Goto avoids the shotgun drop kick, does a rope hung neck breaker and an Ushigoroshi. He hits the reverse GTR, but Okada wins with a sit-down roll-up off a sunset flip. No Rainmaker. He got the money clip in at some point. No Rainmaker, no big move. He just sat down on Goto. Goto's got to be fed up. Goto's got to be losing his mind at this point. He loses a match, razor thin, 3 count, where he thinks he doesn't realize that the match is over, and now this. Anyway, story is still the same. Kazuchika Okada is ruling the G1. And our main event was Hiroshi Tanahashi defeating SANADA. This was a match of I can do your stuff too, right? I can do what you do to win a match. A lot of one-upsmanship. A lot of if you're not careful, I'll get you. Then this started off early on as Tanahashi was trying to do a paradise lock, right? But dragon screw leg whips and dragon suplexes and so on and so forth. Pescados. They were both like trying to one up each other in this match. It felt more like it didn't feel as much as a match that really had stakes as something that they just they were just egging each other on, just trying to be jerks to each other. Sonata tries to go for the knees, right? Because that's what you do when you fight Hiroshi Tanahashi. You go for the knees, but Tanahashi's probably he's like, oh, you're going for the knees. Look clever. Here, let me drop you on your neck with a dragon suplex into a bridge that you can barely count out of, and then I'm gonna go to the top rope and hit the high fly flow. Sonata wasn't on top of his game here. He was sloppy. He was not very couple of spots. Couple of spots that were a little blown when I think he was supposed to. This spot where he's supposed to catch people into and reverse them into a skull end, I think it works 45% of the time. I might be generous. 35% of the time. Most of the time he blows it. He blew it here. Anyway, Tanahashi won in a very, very tepid main event. Very tepid show. I don't think there's anything really on night 8 that stands out. Despite the fact that I was sitting here talking about Okada and Goto being pretty, hey, this is going to be pretty good. This is an entirely skippable night. I think that if you want to see... All right, let me see. If you want to watch Night 7, go right ahead. It's a nice evening of wrestling. I think if you want to continue seeing the path of destruction that Zack Sabre Jr. is on, you can watch this match with Great-O-Khan. I think it's worth it. I think it's fun. You get to see Great-O-Khan pulling out his ground game chops. I think that's fun too. I think Shingo Takagi and kENTA is a nice, strong, aggressive match that will entertain you. Again, not match of the year, not telling you drop everything, go watch this, but you'll be entertained. Everything else is skippable. Night 8 for Block B, if you want to see the continued growth of the return of the Rainmaker, watch the match. You can watch it on 1.5 now speed on New Japan World. Don't do that. Don't do that. I was trying to make a joke, but don't do that. That's unnatural. I don't understand how people watch television shows. Because Netflix, you can do that too, right? At 1.5, 2 times the speed. And I'm like, how do you... I don't understand how people are able to do that. Podcasts, I get it. If you guys are... Hopefully you guys are listening to me on times 2. Makes me feel, makes me sound a lot smarter than I am because I'm talking so fast and the pauses are shorter. But back to this match here, Kazuchika Okada and Hiroki Goto, nothing to write home about. An okay match. If you just want to be a part of the story of Okada's continued growth, do it. But frankly, an entirely skippable night. I think it was a very, very monotonous evening of professional wrestling. Nothing bad, like nothing egregious where you're like, this is the worst shit I've ever seen. Or maybe Evil and Chase Owens was bad, but not like, mind-numbingly bad. It's just not a good match kind of thing. It's all solid work. There's just no energy to it. So the Block B standings right now, Jeff Cobb is at 8 points, tied with Kazuchika Okada for number 1. Evil, Hiroshi Tanahashi are both have 6 points. Taichi and Sanada tied for 3rd place with 4 points. Tamatanga, Yoshihashi tied at 2 for 5th. And Chase Owens and Hiroki Goto still have to score a win. The next time the next time the G1 returns to us will be on Sunday, October 3rd. We're going to be getting, first of all, on Block A, right? Yes. We're going to get Tongaloa versus Yujiro Takahashi. The Tokyo Beam! Someone has to win here. And I don't think it's going to be Tongaloa. I think Yujiro is going to pick up a win here because of the House of Torture stuff. Tomohiro Ishii is going to be fighting Zack Sabre Jr. This is another one that Jr. has a very strong chance of winning, but it's also one that could go either way. I think Zack is going to win. We'll see. And the main event is going to be Ibushi versus Shingo. I am excited to see how they're going to work Shingo's arm angle into this because they really made a big deal out of it this week. Block B is going to be the next day on Monday, October 4th, and then I will be back later on in the day on Monday to recap both of these nights. It's going to start off with Evil against Tama Tonga. We're going to get Taichi versus Jeff Cobb. I mean, no way Jeff Cobb is losing this. Hiroki Goto versus Yoshihashi. You would assume that Goto will get his first win here. And the main event is going to be Kazuchika Okada versus SANADA. This will be good only if SANADA decides to be good. So there you go. That's our wrap up for the next 2 nights of professional wrestling brought to us by New Japan Pro Wrestling, their thing called the G1. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you continue to stick around. Don't forget, everything is available on a playlist. All of my G1 recaps right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. So that's very easy to listen to, or it's all available on your favorite podcast application as well. But I thank you very much for listening. I thank you everyone who joined us live. Thank you. Thank yous for everyone all around, constantly and without end. Well, maybe it has to come to an end because I do want to set you guys off. See you next time.